Birds of Prey is upon us, and it will be all about fighting misogyny and the patriarchy, something star Ewan McGregor made explicit. Writer and journalist Matthew Kadish tweeted out his feelings about the movie, but after several retweets from multiple self-proclaimed social justice warriors, Twitter influencers, and even other journalists, his tweet went viral and the pitchforks came out. Was this called for, or is this the kind of thing Ricky Gervais, Joe Rogan, and even the great Dave Chappelle are speaking out against? That is what we'll be talking about today. And since Matthew Kadish, the star of it all, just so happens to be a good friend of ours and even a frequent collaborator, he is here to speak his mind. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here.
Certainly good to have you. And of course, you're not alone. Also joining us are, among the Midnight's Edge regulars, Robot Shlomo, our own narrator supreme. How's it going, Rob?
Oh, fantastic. Good to be here.
And we've got Tom.
Hello, everybody.
And we're also joined by our valued collaborators, Mecha Random 42.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Certainly. And of course, Mary Mayhem of our very own Toxic Femininity. Welcome, Mary.
Heyo! This is altogether hilarious for me.
It's altogether hilarious for quite a lot of people. But I'm curious, Matt, before we go through the tweet and everything like that and the firestorm it created, and if you have anything to say about it before we'll start discuss all of that, do you find this whole thing funny? Like, how is it to be at the center of, well, basically all this ire and the target of cancel culture, I guess?
There's some mixed emotions going on here. I find it fascinating and also quite disturbing, just the process that's been going on since I put out these two tweets last Friday. Like, I've gotten 250,000 engagements on these tweets, 99% of which have been toxic and negative and personally attacking. I've gotten numerous unsolicited DMs, some of them threatening me for my hot take on this movie. Then blue check marks picked up on this, and all of a sudden I have articles being written about it, all of which are misconstruing what it was I actually said, and kind of labeling me as I've been called an incel. I've been called someone with a tiny penis. I've been called someone who likes to masturbate in theaters. I've been called alt-right, Nazi. I've been called pretty much everything you could think of that's just nasty. And I think it all came down to the fact that I kind of chose poorly in my choice of words, where in my tweet, I said that the marketing for Birds of Prey was lacking sex appeal for the male demographic of the movie-going audience that tends to like to go to these comic book movies. And I think everyone on the feminist SJW Twitter side of things just kind of focused in on the word sex, and they ignored everything else I wrote in the tweet. And so it all became about sexualizing women, the male gaze, me being a misogynist, and objectifying people. And really my tweets were just about how the marketing for Birds of Prey is catering to the wrong audience. It's not doing anything to cater to the core male demographic of comic book movies. Its entire kind of marketing strategy has been aimed at the kind of female empowerment crowd or the modern feminist crowd. And because of that, I said, they're missing out on their most fundamental demographic. And I've seen this pattern with Terminator Dark Fate and Charlie's Angels and numerous other, female-centric movies, and they've all bombed. And so I was saying, like, if I'm predicting that Birds of Prey is going to have a similar box office failure simply because they're not targeting the right audience for their movie, which was essentially what my tweet was about. And maybe I didn't word it as eloquently as I could have, because it it was Friday night, and I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I had this thought after seeing the Birds of Prey trailer on YouTube, and I just shot it out. And to me, it was just like a stupid hot take that, I use my Twitter account to regularly talk about movies and TV shows and my thoughts on them and stuff like that. So I didn't really think anything of it. And then like the next day, I guess through hashtags or something, the SJW Twitterverse latched onto this thing and just started quote tweeting it, retweeting it constantly. I was getting something like 60 engagements per minute on this thing as it started going out. And they were all just people saying, sorry, you've never gotten laid. Too bad you're an incel. Imagine having this kind of view about women, and basically all these things that completely missed the point of my original tweet. And since then, it has just picked up and snowballed. And I've just kind of been sitting back looking at it happen. And I have a pretty thick skin because I am an artist. And so I put myself out there, and I'm, okay with valid criticism and stuff like that. And even the personal attacks, it's so funny because some of these people are so unself-aware that I actually started saving some of my favorite tweet responses. Like I had this one tweet where someone unironically posted, "Straight men know nothing about what makes women attractive." Like that was an actual tweet someone said, and they weren't being funny. They were actually using that to attack me.
Yeah, I just have to interrupt you for 1 second. I want the lady perspective on that accusation that straight men know nothing about what makes a woman attractive. Mecca, you are not 100% heterosexual, let's say. What's your thoughts on that? Having some experience with both men and women.
I think it's hilarious. I think straight men know exactly what they find attractive because they wouldn't, they're attracted to women. That is exactly who is supposed to be finding women attractive, and women can find women attractive, and gay men can find women attractive as well. The fact that anybody is just blatantly saying that because of sexuality and finding a human being attractive are kind of two things that really are separate in some ways. Like they can be synonymous with wanting to do the giggity with somebody, but then they can also be, I can appreciate the beauty of a movie star without wanting to jump into bed with them, even if they're not my preferred gender of choice. And I think a lot of people can have an opinion on what's attractive and what's not. Sorry, it's just laughably ridiculous.
Mary, your thoughts. Are men entitled to have an opinion on whether or not a woman is attractive?
What an oxymoron to think that a straight guy has no idea what an attractive woman looks like. It's a ridiculous notion to even assert in the first place. I mean, of course, men are entitled to have an opinion on what women look like. Women typically spend a lot of time attempting to sort of peacock and impress men with how it is that they appear. We spend a lot of time on our hair and our makeup in order to go out looking presentable and desirable. And real women that resonates with real women all across the spectrum here. So, why wouldn't we want men to acknowledge when we're attractive and when we're pretty, especially when we put so much time and energy and effort into it? So, I'm pleased when I get a compliment or when I'm approached and felt desired. So, yeah, it's what a silly thing to assert that he wouldn't know what it looks like when a female's attractive. It's ridiculous.
Well, the funny thing here was that one of the points.
Right. So we have some distance there.
Yeah. One of the points I was trying to make in my tweet was that they didn't seem to know who the audience for this movie was because they're trying to cater to an audience outside of the core demographic that usually goes and sees these types of movies. And I was getting a lot of tweet replies saying, like, this movie's not for you, it's for the women and the gays. Like, a lot of people were using that as a justification to say I was wrong. And I was like, well, but that's my point. It's like, if you're making this movie for women and gay people, you're kind of, excluding the bulk of the audience that typically, historically goes to see these types of movies, and you're not doing anything to appeal to them. And so, like, a lot of the tweets where they were trying to defend their position and personally attack me were actually kind of making my point for me, and none of them seemed to get that. which was that, my criticism was basically about the marketing of this movie and how it's just not doing anything to try to appeal to the male demographic that goes to see comic book movies. And everyone seems to think that that was me somehow attacking women or putting down this movie. Like, I had a lot of replies saying like, how can you say that about a movie you haven't seen yet? And I'm like, people say stuff about movies they haven't seen.
That's what the point of the trailer is for, though, is to get you interested in the movie. And I'm sorry, as a woman who is the demographic that they're looking for, the gays and the women, well, I'm a little of both. So, okay, we can still criticize this. I see, when I look at pictures of this movie, I see a bunch of girls who look like they're shopping at Goodwill because they have to, not because they want to, with a bunch of ill-fitting clothes that look like they just grab them out of the trash bin. And it looks like they're so focused on having a diversity quota. Like, it looks like a college pamphlet for a community college. Really...
I mean, there was an article where Margot Robbie and the costume designer specifically said that they were trying to do less male gazy costumes for the characters. And I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. But in doing so, you're not going to do anything to appeal to this audience that, has basically sat out for like the Terminator movie and the Charlie's Angels movies and stuff like that. And those movies were huge failures. And so, my specific critique about Birds of Prey, it wasn't necessarily about the movie or about the actresses or whatever. It was about the marketing of the movie. And pretty much everyone who kind of dogpiled on me completely missed the point that I was trying to make. And in fact, they were even reinforcing the fact that they don't need to appeal to the male demographic because this movie isn't for men. It's, it's meant, and there were a lot of replies that said, like, imagine looking at the actresses in this movie and thinking they're not sexy. A lot of people were saying like Margot Robbie could not shower for a month and be wearing a trash bag and she'd still be sexy. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you have Rosie Perez, I mean, like, she's pushing 60. You have this underage Asian actress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, where they completely removed her breasts from every shot in the film. These actresses, on their own are very attractive, but in the movie, they worked very hard to try to tone that attractiveness down. And I was just questioning the logic of that. Like, if you want to get men in the seats, you want to have some sex appeal there. You want to have something that's going to get them to want to go see a movie that's completely helmed by females. Because I actually wrote an article about this not too long ago where I talk about how people like to see representations on screen. And there's a lot of talk, nowadays about representation in film and television. And people just tend to identify with, members of the same sex. So we see it as an audience surrogate. So when women go to a film, they tend to identify more with the female characters. When men go to a film, they tend to identify more with the male characters. That's just not human nature. And if you're going to a movie that has the opposite sex as the, primary characters, you need to have something that's going to intrigue the opposite sex of the viewership audience and make them want to invest in that character. And that's why we have this concept of sex appeal, where we want to see attractive men and women on screen, because that's something that appeals to the opposite sex and helps them to identify with them outside of, the same sex identification.
It's the bait. It's the bait.
Well,
it's the person in the seat initially. And I don't understand, and this is something that is legitimately confusing to me, is when did it become a bad thing to be attracted to the opposite gender? I thought we were past this point where we all had to button up our collars and wear turtlenecks and be incredibly sort of closed off and physically unappealing. I thought we were past that. I thought we were at a point of liberation. Why is this
when they wanted to see themselves on screen, because they're a bunch of hateful people on the inside and they think everybody else is as ugly as they are on the inside, and they can't stand to look at attractive, pretty people on screen. This is why we have this one chick in a hefty bag, this Huntress character. She's literally in a hefty bag. I mean, I'm sorry, but she is.
I was talking to Tom about that. Literally, what was it yesterday? I was talking to Tom about. He made this amazing point. Like, freaking Harley Quinn looks like a 4-year-old dressed herself and forgot to tie her shoes before she went to school. It's ridiculous. She looks ridiculous. It doesn't look like Harley Quinn. That's not Harley Quinn up on the screen to me. I'm not exactly sure what I'm staring at. Doesn't she look like, what is that? What even is that?
It's a hefty bag. She's wearing a literal hefty bag. And then you've got Harley Quinn in this getup looking like Brie Larson and Mystic Vac. Like, did you just grab the brush at a car wash, or did you just shred a bunch
woman
of
wears
trash?
bright red lipstick with a flamboyantly neon pink top? Who does that?
Apparently her, someone who's never, had anyone, and someone who's never had anyone say, hey, maybe that's not such a good idea.
But you got this woman whose bras hanging out. Like,
but I mean, like Rosie Perez is still an attractive lady. She's dressed as a janitor.
Evidently a 4-year-old and Harley Quinn. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys couldn't hear me before, I don't think.
No, we can't.
Well, there's this whole movement now of desexualizing women in movies. Have you noticed, like, everybody's formless, everybody's shapeless, nobody wears anything form-fitting or revealing.
Except this girl with her bra hanging out because she couldn't be bothered to buy a top that fit her.
Well, men are allowed to be objectified, but not women. That's
women can objectify other women. We do it all the time, don't we?
No, but I mean in movies now. Because Sons of Aquaman had his shirt off through most of the fucking movie, so
that's
Chris Hemsworth is Thor.
Oh, they didn't like that either, though. They did not like that Aquaman did well.
Well, yeah, but it's perfectly acceptable for a group of women to go and coo and caw all over Henry Cavill or Aquaman, and for us to lose our minds, and that's acceptable. That's women empowerment, right? That's a good thing. Let's encourage that. Hooray! Big box office numbers. We all love it, right? But if a guy does it, then all of a sudden he's a terrible misogynist. This is hypocrisy, and I don't understand why people can't look at these two things side by side and go, "Well, that's dumb." Like, why is it okay for women but not okay for men?
Well, because there's a whole thing about we're just exploiting ourselves for the quote unquote male gaze. But it's gotten to the point though where it's a new puritanical age. And Tom, we talk about this all the time. And Mecca is a fan of Star Trek, and we're all fans of Star Trek. What was the point of the miniskirt on Star Trek?
To empower women into saying, "Hey, look how sexy I am. I can be sexy and
exactly."
I can do a job."
But now it's like, if another woman is more attractive, then she's supposed to feel bad because, and I hate saying this, because then the ugly people won't feel like they're being
represented. Well, just look at the people who were so mean to us online, and then they said nothing to us at Star Trek Las Vegas. Yeah. Looking at some of these people is like, okay, yeah, you are exactly why we have all this representation, and you are exactly why you're the same type of people who are going to throw a temper tantrum because people are too attractive on screen.
Did you ever notice though? And I've said this time and time again. And Mecca, what do I always say about the people who scream the loudest for representation?
Are all these little white girls with blonde hair?
Always these blonde-haired, blue-eyed little white girls. And there's that very famous picture of Brie Larson at the premiere with all the actresses. Those are actresses. Who the hell is she kidding? Those are actresses. Squad goals. All of them. Blonde hair, blue-eyed sorority girls who are there. Okay, do I get my check now? How do you pay me? It's like, yeah, that's your idea of representation. So even their idea of representation is not representation. No. So there's a huge dose of irony to all of this.
Oh, even Jessica Rodden, who wrote the article against Matt Kadish for Cinema Blend here, is a little white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes, probably.
She lives in Williamsburg.
She grew up in Southern Indiana.
Oh yeah,
where she just received a master's degree in library science. So now she's a full-time editor at Cinema Blend, and she's
a lot of lives there, Jessica.
Yeah, but she's a little blonde-haired, she's a little blonde-haired girl who probably decided that she needed to attack a white man because that's their culture. That's what they do. And they don't understand that if you're going to call somebody out by name on like a tweet or something, you need to have some consequences. But no, this girl, she's locked down her Twitter account with her whole 200 followers because she's probably gotten some pretty nasty backlash that she might very well deserve. and obviously I don't condone threatening or, attacking her in any way. But when it comes to something like this, where they're just flat out attacking somebody over an opinion, then maybe we can call them out on that. It's like, okay, you're flat out attacking a man because you disagree with his opinion, and going as far as to try and harm his career, harm his because he's written books, you're trying to harm his career by doing this, by making a hate piece on him. So, Jessica Rodden, when you go out of your way to do that, what are you trying to accomplish other than just attacking somebody over their opinion because you're hateful?
I have
that's
a
what I wanna
theory.
know.
I have a theory on what she's trying to achieve. Brownie points.
Yeah.
Show everyone, oh, look how virtuous I am. Look how, how woke I am. Look how attacking I am and attacking our enemies. Like a cult. Scientology does exactly the same thing.
Well, what's funny about all this is it's almost kind of flattering, because it's like, who am I? I'm some guy who tweeted out. I'm some guy who tweeted out his thoughts on Twitter, and a 250,000 people thought it was important enough to make an engagement with.
Oh, but it was okay for Scott Mendelson to say that he misses the original head to toe Harley Quinn outfit. Nobody attacked his ass.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference there being that Scott Mendelson said it in a very carefully structured way, like, oh, can we please get back to what it is that we love about these characters in the first place? Whereas Matt here made the mistake of pointing out something obvious that any regular random person can recognize. That, hey, maybe let's not, like Becca said, dress these women in garbage bags and put them on screen, right?
Like Rose Tico?
Every female, exactly what they did to Rose Tico. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mary. I was the one. I'm probably other people were thinking this when they were watching The Rise of Skywalker. Kerry Russell is a very, very attractive woman, and very luxurious, magnificent hair and everything. Very, very attractive. She has her helmet on the whole time. You don't see her face. Is that so? And Mecca actually pointed this out. Oh, that's so everybody who's there to see Rey, nobody upstages Rey, so nobody feels bad about seeing someone prettier than they are on screen. This whole thing about having to protect people. I mean, yes, some people are going to be hurt. They're going to have their feelings hurt. That is unavoidable. Do you think does anyone actually believe that I think I'm as handsome as Sean Connery? No. Yeah. Okay, but
I love Sean Connery. Not so much anymore.
Well, what's funny is for someone, for a group of people who are so concerned about not judging people based off their looks, I'd say about 60% of the personal attacks I receive are about how I looked. In particular, my profile picture on Twitter, which is admittedly not the best picture I've ever taken, but I always thought it looked kind of writerly, like an old professor with tweed jacket and leather patches on his shoulder type thing.
You need a black turtleneck, Matt. That's
something like that. But people were literally like, they were replying with my Twitter profile picture as if that were some type of insult to me. Just saying like look at this guy. And
because you're a white male, that's why they actually legit think that.
I actually sent a Twitter exchange to Tom. I don't know if he can. If
I'm working on it. No.
But the bulk of the attacks against me were basically personal attacks about my looks, and I just found that like the height of irony that these people are so tone deaf that they're trying to defend the quote unquote bashing of women's looks, which I didn't attack at all, by saying that I'm so ugly that I have no right to bash other people's looks. And here's an example on the screen of an actual exchange that just shows how tone deaf these people were. So this Reginald Thomas person, made this comment about my looks, and then someone else kind of came in and attacked his profile picture. And then another person said, that's so shallow, judging someone's value or life based solely on looks, sad little guy. The guy's like, I'm literally doing what she just did. And he's like, you're missing the irony here. And when I saw this exchange, I couldn't help but laugh, because I was like, who who is really the person missing the irony in this exchange? Because I mean, this encapsulates pretty much most of the responses I got to this tweet was people who mischaracterized the tweet and also weren't self-aware enough to realize that they were attacking me for stuff they themselves were doing. So I just found it kind of funny.
Well, it's because they themselves are actually obsessed with the appearance aspect of it. It's the whole reason the movie is being presented the way that it is. It's the reason these women look the way they are. Is because this entire sort of sect of people are all obsessed and pre-concerned with the notion that you have to put it like you have to make these people look like your average run-of-the-mill person, and then the average run-of-the-mill person who feels represented for once, as it were, wants to go in hard in that moment. They want to kind of protect that little bit of I guess representation, and never mind that the mass of people aren't that insecure, right? Most of us aren't going to a movie theater hoping to see a girl in a garbage bag on the screen. Most of us are wanting to go for, I don't know, a good story. We want to get involved in the characters. Maybe we want to see characters that we're familiar with, that we read comics about, that we recognize on screen. Maybe put them up there as we recognize them. Why is it okay to put the males up there on screen as they were in the comic books? Look, freaking Aquaman ran around without a shirt on. Let's not dress him as skimpy. They won't dress the guys as skimpy as they do the girls. Bullcrap. Aquaman didn't even have a shirt on for most of that movie, right? Like, freaking Henry Cavill's running around without a shirt on in Justice League, right?
The whole reason
there is one more point to make to that as well. There's actually two things I want to say, just following up from the last thing you said, Mary, about men not being as skimpily clad as women. No, that's not always the case. As most of you know, I'm a huge fan of Conan the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that Red Sonja is far more dressed than he is. That's one thing.
You know,
Karen.
My girlfriend, the whole reason I got her to agree to see Aquaman with me was so she could see shirtless Jason Momoa in wet jeans. Like, that was the only reason she went to go see that movie, because she doesn't like comic book movies. And I just find it funny that, you know, like, that was the draw that got a great deal of women to go see that movie. And it just shows that my point was that if you have sex appeal, you will get the opposite gender to come see your movie. And I was attacked for being a misogynist for suggesting that, when there's plenty of examples that's a cold hard fact that sex sells, and it gets people in the seats to want to see attractive people on the big screen.
Absolutely. And also one other point that I want to make. Many of those that are making these particular complaints, those that throw the glass in the, throw the stones in, or rocks or whatever, in the glass houses, is what I meant to say. Like, those that are the first to grab the pitchfork and want to put you at the stake and grill you, basically. Many of those people are, for one thing, they're really nasty people, but they're also narcissists, because this is what narcissists do. They project. They hold you into an unobtainable standard that they themselves do not reach, and that they are the first to breach. And then they will accuse you of doing what they do all the time. And I find this quite common with people that are extreme in a certain ideology that goes hand in hand with the attitudes expressed by these people, those that scream about representation and taking down patriarchy and all of that. So I'm sure there's some good people among them, but you have quite a few narcissists as well.
And, you know, to some of the points, and I know that Anna, that Star Wars girl, just joined us. Glad to have you here, Anna. But
welcome, Anna.
A lot of the people that were responding to my tweets were saying that, you know, like, this is a movie for lesbians. You know, like, we're, you know, like they were actually making the hardcore argument that Birds of Prey was meant to appeal just to lesbians. And I was like, well, that's fine, but you're still missing my point, which is if you don't get the male demographic into the theater to see this movie, it's going to bomb just like Charlie's Angels did, because Charlie's Angels had a very similar marketing strategy, which was female empowerment. You know, it's trying to appeal to the female demographic. And if any of you read my article, like, there was a U.S. National Library of Medicine study published that talked about the appeal of certain types of movie genres to the different sexes, male and female. And if you think about Charlie's Angels and Birds of Prey as an action movie, this study found that 73% of men prefer action films, whereas only 62% of women do. And, if you take into account personal preferences and stuff like that, you can probably knock that percentage down by a couple of numbers. But at its best, an action film will probably attract maybe 60 to 55% of the female audience who goes to see movies, and that's only if they have a guy that they want to go see the movie with or something like that. So when you take into account Charlie's Angels, Terminator Dark Fate, Ghostbusters, a bunch of female-led movies like Ocean's 8, I should say, there's this distinct pattern where if you kind of ignore trying to attract the male demographic to your movie, you're not going to make the type of money that you need to have a successful film. And the point of my post was basically this, that Birds of Prey is not doing anything to appeal to the male demographic. And because of that, I don't think it's going to do very well at the box office. And people misconstrue that for misogyny and attacking women and hating women and stuff like that.
I'm convinced. I'm absolutely convinced of this. That the reason why they think that this strategy works is because they believe that they've actually finally gotten them cornered. They've finally gotten men to a place where they'll just accept the fact that they're terrible, horrible misogynists and they need to go see this movie in order to make amends. In order to
No, they don't.
the fact that they're horrible people and they should go see it. I think they're convinced of that fact. And what they don't realize is that there are a lot of men out there who are like, well, screw you guys. I'm not a misogynist. I'm just a guy. And so I think it's going to take a few more bombs. I think it's going to take a few more Charlie's Angels for them to be like, well, I guess we can't rely on men to be completely and utterly browbeaten down.
Yeah, well, you know what? You got me there, Mary. I'm a terrible, horrible person. But I'm still not seeing this movie. But I just want to say that I dealt with this all through the '90s too. And there's a lot of people who might be too young to remember the '90s. I remember all the guys who would go to Lilith Fair and say, "Yeah, I really feel so in touch with women's issues," but they were just there to try to pick up girls. I hate saying this. They were trying to pick up girls with hairy armpits. That's all they were doing. They were just scamming on women. It was just a new tactic. So
because they're not that bright. That's why. That's because these women who go around with their little, I hate men stuff. They're not that bright and they're easy to pick up on. I realized this when I was at a Ghost concert actually, and the girl there was just inserting, oh, he's an old white dude. There's a bunch of old white dudes like up in Wyoming, and they're all just this and that. Wow. And the guy was just there. Yeah, he's just nodding and agreeing with her, trying to. Because he knows she's going to be dumb and easy to pick up. She's going to be an easy play. That's all it really feels like.
My thing is that, listen, any man who says to you, and like that guy says, oh, you have no idea what makes a woman attractive. Any man who's like on board with any of this, they are lying to you and themselves. That's it. It's just, you repeat something enough times, eventually you're gonna believe it. The sky is green. The sky is green. You start to say, it does look a little green. And there are some that will go along with it, but the majority of them are not being honest with you.
Yeah.
We have a new panelist here.
You want to come home with me?
Yeah, we have a new panelist joining us. Another Star Wars girl. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Have you been following the conversation? I take it that you have.
A little bit. I've actually been trying to hunt down this tweet that caused this whole uproar, but
it's
hardcore stalking that.
Pretty innocent. We're trying to get it on screen here.
Yeah,
but,
they've got it here in the article here in the hit piece.
While you guys are looking for that, I just want to say real quick that one of the big counter arguments to my tweet was that I am someone who is afraid of strong female characters. And, what's interesting about this is I think everyone can agree that strong characters are something that audiences in general want to have. They crave them. Like, strong characters are good characters. And I think one of the interesting tactics that has been levied against me here is that they took my criticism of the film's marketing and basically morphed it into something where I was attacking the actual film itself as opposed to the film's marketing. Now, I haven't seen Birds of Prey. It doesn't look all that good to me, just based off the marketing. And that was part of the reasons I was criticizing the marketing. So, I mean, the movie could be good. The actresses in it could do a great job. The characters could be really strong. I wouldn't know that from the marketing, though, because they've changed so much from the source material, which I was somewhat familiar with, that, I don't know what this movie is going to be. Like, none of the marketing has told you anything about the characters other than Harley Quinn. None of the marketing has shown them to be quote unquote strong, other than them like punching people, which I guess is Hollywood's way of saying that they're a strong female character because they act like men and are violent. And like there's just like a lot of stuff here that the opposition crowd to my tweets has been kind of using for their own defense of this movie that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
And realistically, it's probably a lot of people who aren't going to see it either. Like, they're not going to see it anyway, because a lot of the time they don't watch these movies.
I mean, like,
remember what Princess Meek said about Captain Marvel?
Like, I'm a bad feminist. I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, but it doesn't need my money. Like, no.
I mean, in all honesty, this movie could be a hit, and I'd probably look pretty stupid if it did. But that wasn't really the point. Like, if this movie does make money and it is a big hit, then great. That's fantastic. I think my point, though, is that there was a serious kind of mismatch to the marketing where, and this is typical of a lot of Hollywood films, where they don't know who their actual audience is. They're trying to cater to a new audience while alienating their current one. And whether you want to admit it or not, the core audience that really drives these comic book movies, especially the ones that are on the DC side, are primarily male. And when you ignore that demographic, you do so to the detriment of the movie. And that was like the whole point I was trying to make, was that if you ignore the male demographic, you're only going to make a fraction of what this movie should be making. And I personally don't think this movie is going to be a hit. It might do okay, but I don't think it's going to be something like a Captain Marvel, which made a whole lot of money in the theater.
Oh, it can't make. It's not going to make $1 billion. Unless this is the best movie that we've ever seen, it's not going to make $1 billion. It's only projecting at 40 to 60 million opening weekend. So
we shall see. But Anna, now that you have seen Matt's tweet on screen, your thoughts? Does this warrant pitchforks and cancellation culture?
No, but I do agree with him. I mean, when I was watching the trailer, my best friend is a huge Harley Quinn fan. And then at the same time, we always tease that Ewan McGregor is her celebrity husband. So I know regardless what's going on, I'm probably going to go see this movie with her. But then, I love DC a lot more and I have history with DC as compared to Marvel. So I didn't know that Huntress was going to be in this movie, or that Black Canary was going to be in this movie, until after, when they did the promos and they had the name of the character with the character doing their, little pose. I was like, what the hell did you just dress these two women in? And who the heck are these, actresses? And so that was kind of infuriating. As far as everything else, I'm just going through and reading all of the replies that you got, dude. Oh my God.
How many hours do you have to do that?
Well, I mean, I read pretty fast. They're just like scrolling.
Well, you haven't even
through.
seen like the bulk of this was quote tweets, which don't show up on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
So like I was getting like literally like 10 quote tweets every 2 minutes.
That happened with me with the whole Raylo situation. I see this one, and it's a woman that honestly doesn't have any sex appeal, and her retort to you says a man with absolutely, all caps, no sex appeal. Okay. And it's like, have you looked at yourself? It's like a typical SJW looking lady, and then her little cover photo is a cover photo of a cat.
Well, in Mecca, one of these articles, they had a quote from somebody, and they didn't even realize it was a woman. that they were
Yeah,
saying
that
was a
was
guy.
on that was on the what was it? The White Male Rage SNL thing.
Yeah, so like they don't even pay attention to what they're doing half the time. And like I said, we all know Matt personally. Like I've met him, I've met his girlfriend. She's very gorgeous. I don't know where all these people get off. No, she doesn't live in Canada, and we've never met her. So you know.
Well, you know what's funny also is I had a second tweet that has been getting zero attention, and it was all about how even women enjoy seeing attractive women on screen, and you know, cosplayers in particular want sexy outfits to dress up in because, you know, I don't know about you guys, but at least like I know that there's a lot of philosophy on cosplaying, but a great number of people at the conventions I've gone to, they dress up to get attention. And so like the hotter the outfit is, the more attention they get. And so like there's a great number of cosplayers.
Well, not only that, there's professionals who do it too.
That like to dress in provocative outfits. And just, you know, from a comic book lover perspective, like if you were to look at this image on here of the Birds of Prey, I couldn't tell you who Diana Lance, aka Black Canary, is without having known who was cast in that role, because she looks nothing like the comic book character. They haven't shown anything to kind of tell you who she's supposed to be in the trailers. It's just this collection of women, like you know the young Asian actress here. She's supposed to be Cassandra Cain, who is like this super deadly trained from birth assassin who eventually becomes Batgirl. Like you wouldn't be able to know that by looking at you know this image. You wouldn't know who Elizabeth Winstead is supposed to be. I mean, very few people know who Renee Montoya is, and that's the character that you know Rosie Perez is playing. And you know nothing in the trailer tells you anything about these characters.
Well, that's not important. The important thing is that you've got the Asian girl who knows karate based on her wearing a headband. You've got representation for Hispanics with Rosie Perez, and you have African American representation with the girl who wears a bra on the outside of her shirt.
Yeah, the Black Canary, quite literally.
Well, and the representation isn't a problem. The women aren't even a problem. And this is what I mean, we were talking about this before, but also it made me think about it, Anna, when I was watching the premiere of your video earlier, is that basically men don't have problems with women's being the lead in action films. I mean, seriously, otherwise Buffy would have never been a hit. Alien would have never been a hit. Terminator would have never been a hit.
But apparently I'm not attractive enough to have an opinion on the Birds of Prey article either, according to my comment section.
Oh, that was a lot of the defense against my thing, was I was not attractive enough to be quoting on sexist.
Yeah, so
but they want your money.
If you are attractive, then they just call you, how do you even say it? Like a tot or thought? I don't
know.
Yeah,
they call you a thought.
Yeah, so if you have any type of appeal, you know, I guess, you know, if some people find you attractive, then they're like, oh, well, your opinion's invalid because you are attractive. And it's like, what the fuck?
There's no way to
like suiting. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Unless you're a blue-haired Twitterati, your opinion doesn't matter.
But some of the most interesting replies to my tweet were like, you would have a woman replying, and in her profile picture would be like of her breasts or of her wearing a bikini or something like that, and she'd be attacking me for objectifying women, and stuff like the tone deafness of some of these people was absolutely fascinating to me, because I was like, do you even know what it is you're saying in conjunction with how you're representing yourself? And then you had the male feminists chiming in. There were a lot of people who were like, oh, please, ladies, please don't lump me in with this guy. I don't think this about women, you know. And I was just like, really?
White knights.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world to kind of live in. I don't understand the mentality that can on one day be wandering around in a bikini and leaving those kind of sort of thoughtish pictures up on social media for the whole world to see, and to be like, I'm proud of my body, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day be pissed off at men for being like, go ahead, show your body. That's a good thing. It makes me happy. Like, I don't understand the crazy mentality that it takes to live within that world or that mindset. Like, pick one, you crazy. Just pick something, and then it's cool. If you want to stand behind it, at least you can at least be consistent. But
they're just doing it for attention. They're just a bunch of overgrown little princesses who need the attention because daddy didn't love them.
I mean, honestly, if you want to know why I think this tweet blew up like it did, I think I accidentally tapped into the perfect intersection of LGBTQ issues, feminist issues, DC fanboys, and the Snyder cult. online, and they all just kind of got together and created a Sharknado of toxicity that just directed squarely at me. And so, like, if you guys ever want a tweet to blow up, just target those people all at the same time.
Try to find a way to word something that all those people at the it's perfect.
Well, the Snyder Boys got me kicked out of the Collider Facebook group, so I know how vicious they can be.
Oh, they are ruthless. Like every time I've made a post about a Snyder movie, they just descend upon me, and it's brutal.
Bad robot pays well. So
I always find the Discovery fans and the Star Trek, like the modern Trek sympathizers, to be the worst of the worst people to interact with.
Yeah, but that's who you attract. That's who they attract with these new things.
Yep.
This person proposed this argument, and I'm like, okay, I don't mind debating, Trek. That to me is fun. But this person, like the way that they started off, it's like, okay, let's argue about Starfleet and how you deal with things as you get older. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting topic. I'm game. Let's talk about this. And then it ended with this person basically throwing a hissy fit, cussing me out because I told them that Captain Kirk in the last movie he was in is not the same as Captain Picard. And, Captain Kirk saying kill all the Klingons as compared to Captain Picard being upset because Starfleet wanted to, basically exile all the Romulans and not save them. Like, that's not the same thing. You can't make that comparison.
No, because those Klingon bastards killed my son.
Well, no, they were also making the comparison that when I called them out for hiding behind the race and gender of their characters, they're like, oh, they never did on Deep Space Nine. Yeah, because they were different writers for Deep Space Nine. You had different writers, showrunners, producers. They're not the same people in charge behind the scenes. And so therefore you don't have the same mentality and the same spirit of it, where you treated Cisco like a person. And if they had that character now, he would be, only the color of his skin.
Well, and I think the core problem is, besides just the fact that they're trying to say that men don't like women in their action movies, is that they're mistaking women trying to look sexy to appease men as opposed to just being comfortable in their own sexuality and their own, attractiveness. Whether it be because and it's been brought up several times on After Dark when we've talked about this issue. It's like a lot of times most women don't even dress up for guys. They're dressing up to impress other women.
Mm-hmm.
Or to feel sexy, to dress up because they want to look at themselves.
Exactly, for their damn selves. Because at the end of the day, if I put on makeup that day and I'm doing my thing, it's not because I'm necessarily so much worried about what everybody else is thinking about me, but because maybe I had a little fun messing with my eyeshadow, or maybe freaking makeup is like art for chicks on your face. It's great. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy going through our outfits and finding what it is that we think we're going to look cutest in that day. It makes us feel happy. It makes us feel pretty. It makes us feel glamorous. And so
it's a self-esteem issue. We want to look attractive. There's a reason why we don't get on camera, rolled out of bed most of the time. And if we do, it's because we're comfortable like that. And, we aren't going to let anybody tell us that we look ugly. And that's just, it depends on the woman too. It's like, okay, what are you comfortable with in your own skin?
Mm-hmm. God forbid.
I know. But we're not allowed to have an opinion and say, maybe this doesn't even look that great. Maybe they don't look like they're having fun. Maybe they don't look comfortable wearing a hefty bag. I don't know.
And if we voice our opinion, then we got it from a man. The only reason we feel this way is because we heard it from a man first. And now we're quoting the man. And I'm like, are you what?
I noticed that.
I believe the term is internalized misogyny.
Internalized misogyny. I noticed that in the Mary Sue article that I was looking at. And some women,
yep,
they're talking about us. They're talking about us because we must have just been browbeaten down by men. We must have been some terrible, horrible man must have hurt us as a child, and now all we can do is try to appease the man because we've internalized him. Like, I'm scared of guys or some shit like that. What utter nonsense. Never mind that I might just be an independent woman who has thoughts and a mind of her own, who can think for herself and sees the hypocrisy and the stupidity that's laced throughout all this kind of behavior. I might just be a rational human being.
So real quick, what's up on the screen right now? One of the side effects of having a tweet that went this viral is that I got a lot of unsolicited direct messages on Twitter, and all of them were very similar to this, where they were basically browbeating me. They were personally insulting me. They were telling me to go kill myself or die or something like that. And this is just one of like the numerous ones that I got that I wanted to kind of share with the audience to let them know that, my hot take on the marketing of a Birds of Prey comic book movie created this type of vitriol in people that they felt the need to personally send me a message that said to go kill myself.
But we're the toxic ones.
Oh yeah, these are just the same as the Captain Marvel fans and all those dumbasses who just want to get in there and be as hateful as they possibly can because you have an opinion that isn't their little group think.
Well, we've seen similar behavior in the Raylos. We've seen similar behavior.
Oh, they were sending it directly to JJ.
And yeah.
Did this person actually send this from their own account?
Yep.
What the hell? They weren't even scared of like, wow.
This was one of many.
They're not bright enough to know that they're just going to get their little happy asses banned from that stuff. I mean,
really confident that like they can say and do absolutely whatever they please without any measure of ramifications to it. Like, just go kill yourself. Let me send this from my. Like,
that's what happens when you hide behind a keyboard. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have screenshots of all the unsolicited DMs that I got, just saying horrible things. And it was fascinating to see these things come in to me because I mean I don't put too much stock in this. I actually thought some of them were kind of funny, but just by and large, the amount of toxicity directed towards me because I dared criticize a all-female led movie, not even the movie itself, but the marketing of the movie. Was just very interesting to me because this has never happened to me before. Like I've gotten flack for some of my takes on things, and that's fine. But they're usually like substantive disagreements over the core philosophy of what we're talking about. Whereas with this, it was literally like 80% personal attacks and maybe 20% dealing with the actual substance of what I was trying to say, talking about the movie and things of that nature. But it was all like, you're ugly, you're bald, you're a white guy, you got a little dick, you're an incel, no one's ever.
Well, and here you go. I'm looking at Anna's tweet from earlier that she retweeted. The penis is an alt-right hate symbol. That's the mentality these people have.
Well, that to be fair, that's a parody account, but
still, that's what that's the kind of shit they say, though. But
well, yeah, you don't know sometimes because these people actually genuinely believe that they're taught what to think instead of how nowadays, and it's funny. It's funny that that I hate to say it's funny. It's more sad. Normally, women will get probably 10 times as worse, like death threats, personal attacks on their appearance. It's like the video I made. He's like, okay, you had to call me ugly in my video. You said I'm not attractive enough to have this opinion, basically. Okay, fine. That's your right to find me attractive or not. That's not the point of either the whole controversy behind this movie. Is that no, we want pretty people on screen to have this fantastical life that us normal, boring, mundane people don't get to have. And it's fantasy. It is play acting. It is the best of the best or the worst of the worst in some cases. And the fact that that people have to resort to personal attacks for other people's opinions is just childish.
Well, I've seen all three women on this panel get these kind of attacks.
Oh yeah.
I just don't understand. I don't understand the kind of mentality that it requires to send something so horrible. I mean, you don't know this person. You don't know what they're struggling with in their real life. For all you know, they are legitimately having issues, and this may be the thing that sends them over the edge. And you would say something like that to someone over a disagreement about how much risque is acceptable on screen?
What's worse is if Matt were to actually be unstable and were to do something like that, that guy would take zero responsibility for anything he said.
And
and he would be happy.
If you look at some of the early replies to my actual tweet, there are a lot of people in there saying, literally saying, let's bring back bullying. Let's bully this guy off the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not paraphrasing, they actually said that type of thing. And I'm the bad guy. So
yeah, meanwhile, you're getting arrests at the Birds of Prey screenings in, I guess this is Australia. I saw this from SC Reviews tweet here. I don't know if you want to screen share that one, but
Yeah, I just had it. There you go.
Yeah, here it's happening. The Joker wasn't the real threat. Arrests from Bird of Prey. So yeah.
Shout out to SC Reviews.
SC Reviews. He's one of the good ones here. But yeah, so you have people actually arrested in what it was the Birds of Prey.
Kind of like Joker and the whole. they had to like create this controversy, and nothing happened for Joker. More people literally got hurt at Frozen 2 than got hurt watching Joker. So.
What the hell? What are the charge people with vehicle crime related offenses for? Wait, I don't understand.
It just looks like they took the name Birds of Prey. Our Birds of Prey operations show how seriously police are treating the issue of vehicle crime in Melbourne, South and Suffolk.
Oh, okay. So it's not anything.
No, it's not really. It's just funny. It's just funny.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I saw the tweet though, and I'm like, what?
I was gonna say something else. Like, what happened now?
But no, that's what they were trying. They were really, really going for. It's like they were rooting for people to be attacked at the Joker just so they could blame it. They've done everything in their power to trash that. They're still pissed about it with their little white male rage SNL skit.
Yeah. By the way, wasn't funny, and I didn't laugh at. I hope they don't expect women to go see this film either. Like, I hope they understand that what they're doing is they're attracting a very small section of women, a very specific sect of women will go see this film because my vagina, right? A very specific. There are a mass amount of women out there, and represented, of course, I would think pretty well by the fandominist females, who have no interest whatsoever in the movie, just based on the fact that we just don't care, right? Because if even the female comic book fans, you're not going to draw in for this, because as I understand it, Harley Quinn isn't even part of the Birds of Prey, right? So it's not like you're going to be attracting the comic book female fans based solely on the virtue of the fact that this is a comic book movie. These are these characters. This is live on screen or in.
Well, they fucked up the comic book characters. It's like I really like Huntress. I remember watching her in the Justice League, and because she was so good in the Justice League, I went and I looked into her, and I really like that character. I didn't even know she was going to be in this movie until they came out with the promo images. But I'm reading the replies on Matt's tweet, and they're like, I'm reading this thread right now. It's so ridiculous about how this movie isn't for comic book fans. I'm like, what? Like, listen to this person said. So this is of somebody defending Matt. If the target audience for a movie featuring a comic book character is not meant for comic book fans, then it's made for the wrong audience. And these two people respond, do you hate every mainstream comic book movie ever released then? Because none of them are made for comic book fans. It's like, what? What?
Complete nonsense.
Well, and not only that, this is something I bring up all the time when it comes to this kind of a thing. Movies used to be made to where you could relate to the main character no matter who or what it was. Mm-hmm. And I bring up movies like Rocky and Short Circuit all the time. It's like, if you go by the mentality of these people, you'd have to be a 30-something-year-old Italian to be able to enjoy Rocky and want to be a boxer, or a robot who thinks he's alive to enjoy Short Circuit. That makes absolute zero sense.
They're made for the fake geek girls. That's who have pop figures everywhere.
Pop shit, yeah.
That's who they're made for. The fake geek girls who buy the little merch to stick on their desk to have something interesting about themselves because they have nothing else in their real lives. Mm-hmm. So they have to buy all the little pop figures, and there's nothing wrong if you like them. But that's who these are for. These are for the Hot Topic girls who are going to go in and cosplay as these characters. That's why they are the easiest, cheapest looking things that you can just find at Goodwill. Because that's what they want. They want girls to go in groups, to go in cosplaying as Harley and all these characters. Mm-hmm. And that's why every time I look up Birds of Prey, I get 20 sponsored ads of the costumes. Yeah. More than anything.
And the costumes aren't even cute.
No, they're not. They're terrible.
They're not. At least Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad had at least a little bit of sex appeal to her, which is what cosplay. Like, I'm a cosplayer, right? Like, I can tell you firsthand. As a cosplayer, we typically look at what is going to get us attention, what's going to get us noticed out there as we walk the floor, right? And
but Mary, like, all the replies that I got to my tweet about the cosplaying said the exact opposite.
Well, are they cosplayers?
they claim they were cosplayers. Like, if you read the response to the tweet, they will claim that they were cosplayers. They say cosplay is about self-empowerment. It's not about being objectified. We don't want attention from men. We do it for our own purposes. And I'm like, well, whatever your philosophy is fine.
if
But the
you
point of my
acknowledge,
tweet was that the costumes in this film are so atrocious that I can't see any cosplayers wanting to dress up as them.
well, look, it's partially true. The notion that we do it to empower ourselves or whatever is true, but it's also simultaneously true that it's gratifying and validating to be noticed by everyone else. And so that definitely plays a huge factor when you go through and you decide what it is that you're going to cosplay there for this particular con, right? So yeah, it's a sort of a dual-sided thing. I do it because it makes me happy, it makes me feel beautiful, it makes me feel strong, it makes me feel empowered and all of that jazz, but it also gets me noticed out on the floor. And so I'm probably going to, if I'm sitting there picking between two characters that I love, two characters that I enjoy, it's a hard toss up or whatever, I'm going to go with the one that I think is flattering to me, right? The one that I think is going to make me look sexier.
Yeah, let me ask you, Mary, would you rather cosplay as Rose Tico from The Last Jedi or as Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman in a freaking
yeah,
she would kill it.
Let me ask you, let's go into the costume store. There's 2 left. Rose Tico is half off. You're basically getting a steal of the lifetime. Wonder Woman is the one from the movie, so it's going to be like at least minimum like a couple $100.
I guess I'm eating ramen for a while, aren't I?
Yeah. The Wonder Woman
still
costume would be more fun to wear because who the hell wants to wear a potato sack jumpsuit? Nobody. And like this is what I'm talking about. This is a Goodwill cosplay thing. If you want to cosplay as Rosie Perez here, just get some cheap brass knuckles that you can buy on eBay for like $5, some plastic ones. Get a blouse at Goodwill and some slacks. That's her costume. This token Asian girl, headband and a hoodie and jean shorts.
She's dressed like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, and she's short and chubby, just like their average cosplay girl who wants to be represented in these things. And I'm not body shaming her. I'm just pointing out a fact. She's a foot shorter than the rest of the girls. She's about 6 inches wider in the hips. And this is your representation. That's why they have these little dime store Goodwill costumes, right? And then this one's for the girl who wants to be a little sexier and have her tits hanging out.
That's more of the lipstick lesbian, and then you got Huntress in the back that's more of the Batwoman type lesbian.
Yeah, she's the man-hater.
One problem beyond all this stuff, and it goes back to the Suicide Squad, is that people don't even understand the relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn. Like, I got into an argument off of Matt's tweet with she claimed to be 20 years old and she was obsessed with Harley Quinn, and it's like, do you even understand that character? And
you like being punched in the face by your boyfriend? Because that's kind of
I didn't even get to that point because she's like, oh no, I don't have to understand, I'm sick and tired of old people. It's like trying to test me on my knowledge of the character. It's like, no girl, you really need to just simply wiki the character to learn a little bit about it.
Yeah,
it's not that fucking hard to do.
Seriously, all you had to do was watch a few episodes of Batman the Animated Series to understand that this girl is broken, right? Like, she's broken inside, and this girl is legitimately as completely and utterly defeated as a female can be when it comes to a relationship with a guy. The Joker is legitimately abusive to her, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. He has abused this woman beyond the pale, and she continues to engage in it. She is a broken human being, and she's not going to do anything to sort of defy the Joker, because he is her whole world, and he has manipulated her into an absolute insanity for him. And insanity is not overstating it. She's insane because of the Joker, like, not just because of him, but like everything that she thinks and does. He literally throws her out of a window. Okay, throws her out of a window. She lands into I can't remember what it was, into a dumpster or on top of a car or something that would have killed a normal human being. She's laying there broken and bloody, and she's going, "My fault. It's all my fault. I didn't get the joke."
This is just the DC's answer to Twilight, because these studios are still out there trying to remake Twilight. They're doing it with Star Trek Picard even, they're still trying to make Twilight. Look at the Raylos. It was Twilight. There's literally an article I read today about Star Trek Picard where they're like, "Oh, how do you think about the Twilight sort of romance?" What? Like, what? You're still literally trying to make Twilight, and that's the only characters that they have that they can like ship together that people are going to be able to cosplay as, buy the pop figures of, and go to Hot Topic and buy all the merch of and buy the t-shirts and crap. And that's who this is for. This is not for people who care about the characters. This isn't for people who pay any attention to the stories or the comics or, you know, the animated series. They don't care about that. They want to dress up as Harley, they want to have their little romance, and they care more about shipping these fictional characters than they do about their own love lives, because they're too immature to have them. They're too immature to be in relationships.
Let me
in
ask
my opinion.
the ladies on this panel, after seeing my initial tweet, like, what was your first impression of it after having read it? Because it seems to me like a lot of these people who responded to it in such a negative fashion, they didn't actually read the tweet. Like they kind of had a knee-jerk reaction to the words sex appeal. And so what I wanted to know from the ladies is, you know, what was your initial reaction having, you know, looked at this?
Well, I focused in on the fact that you were comparing it to Charlie's Angels, right? This sort of woke, over the top. It's going to fail like that movie, mainly because this movie is honing in on, oh, it's all about misogyny and women breaking free and empowerment and blah, 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 right? And so you're shooting this at a demographic that it shouldn't be meant for. This is supposed to be a comic book film. You're supposed to be appealing to comic book fans, right? And so why will this movie flop? Because it's going the way of Charlie's Angels, right? And so they focused in on this. You're right. They had the knee-jerk reaction to the sex appeal, and they never noticed the fact that you were comparing it to something that also flopped because it didn't recognize the demographic that it should be playing to, right? And so I don't see anything wrong with your tweet. It acknowledges just basic reality, right? You go to a movie about comic book characters. You want to see them represented up on the screen as you know them, as you recognize them, right? And many people that I've spoken with don't even know just offhand who the hell these characters even are, even if they're familiar with the comic book, because they don't look anything like them, right? And so how are we supposed to even recognize them when they're sitting right in front of us if you make them completely unrecognizable? It doesn't work. They're going about this poorly. They're going about it badly. It's marketed horribly. It's not marketed to the right people. You're doing a bad job. Fix it. That's all this is.
Yeah, I saw the tweet and I'm like, I agree. This is doing everything that Charlie's Angels did. It's saying we don't want our male audience, but we want your money. We don't like your opinions, but we still want you to pay. And I've done video on top of video on this since last summer. Every few months they have some new crazy thing, like Margot Robbie saying, "Oh yeah, the costumes are going to be less male gazy because I didn't like the short shorts." And
remember back in the Suicide Squad, they actually CGI'd the shorts over her butt in the trailers because in the movie it cropped up too high.
It's like, I think she just needs one more size up then maybe, and that's not body shaming. That's just saying if your shorts are too short in the movie, it's your responsibility to get with your costume designer, get with your director.
She was naked in Wolf of Wall Street. I have no.
I know, and she was the one that came up with the idea. They wanted her to just be in her underwear. She's like, no, it's going to be more believable if I'm naked.
Yep. I don't understand. And someone explained to me why it is that it would be any easier to do this crap in hot pants than it would in shorts. I'm just saying.
Well, and that goes right back to the thing. Like I said, Scott Mendelson can turn around and say, "Oh, I would like to see her in head to toe." And I showed the whole context of the tweet. I don't understand how what he said is any different than what Matt said, and isn't getting any much more notice, because there is one of their own saying something like that, and everybody knows what we're talking about when we're talking about the head to toe original animated series Harley Quinn outfit.
Yeah, the full Harlequin outfit, with
skin tight,
the cat
tights.
The cat suit. Yeah, it's the cat suit. It's the black and white cat suit, and it's look. I get it. It's you're trying to do a new version of Harley Quinn or whatever. So fine, that's fine. But you could have done something that at least resembled it, something that gave off that vibe. None of this, just like you said on the phone the other day, Tom. This looks like a 4-year-old who dressed herself. She's no clue what she's doing. Like Harley Quinn may be crazy, but she's not stupid. In fact, she's incredibly intelligent. She looks like a moron. She looks like a complete moron here.
She comes across like an ADHD little 6-year-old with pigtails who wants to have a slumber party and play dress up. That's what she comes across as to me, and I'm not somebody who has any love for the character anyway. I don't know what they're trying to prove with this. And, I saw this tweet and I'm like, he's exactly right. They don't want their male comic book audience. And that's who this should be for as well. You can still do the girl power stuff. You can still do the cosplay, but to go out of their way to just say, and to let the Twitterati run wild with this one, and to have these articles, these hit piece articles come out blatantly discouraging people from going to see this movie. It's like it's going to be Jessica Rodden's fault if this doesn't do well. It's going to be her fault because she's out there literally condoning the attacking of the male audience who might give this one a shot, who might say, you know what, the trailers look dumb, but the movie might be good, and they're literally doing everything in their power. I think the studios need to hold these writers more responsible for what they're doing to negatively impact these movies. And I don't think that like all publicity is good publicity. I think that they're doing nothing for these movies by being so combative against people who might see this, because you're going to have 20 other people who might not be engaged in the Twitter battle, who might not care one way or another. They're just going to see this and be, you know what, fine, I'm going to avoid that because I don't want to deal with the kind of audience this is attracting. And they're going to keep their mouth shut. They're going to keep their opinions to themselves. They're just going to not go.
Well, they're preparing everybody for this to be a bomb, just like Charlie's Angels, which is what Matt was getting to. And here's my thing about this. This is what you decided to follow up Joker with?
Yeah.
This?
Not Wonder Woman. Not Wonder Woman that people
You should have pushed this back off, yes, and pushed Wonder Woman up. This made, I'm sorry, this makes absolute zero sense financially to me.
It's going to take a few more bombs.
I don't know if Andre has anything to say about that part, but...
Yeah, well, basically, I kind of understand that because the first movie that was greenlit on what's his face? I forgot his name right now. Whoever's in charge of DC right now, the first movie that he greenlit was the Joker, and the second one he greenlit was this one, Birds of Prey. So this basically just follows the production and release cycle, and they have investors and everything to answer to. So I kind of understand why they didn't want to push the movie back. Probably they just want to get it out there, and also they're going to be interested in the data to see what works and what doesn't. There you have like the movie The Joker in one end, and then you have Birds of Prey in the other. Here you have like two extremes that are very good for comparison. Like, for instance, here you have like the new direction started with the Joker. That was fantastic. If this then, which is like a leftover from the Zack Snyder era, that bombs, that's the end of the Zack Snyder era. No need to revisit it ever again. They can just carry on with a new direction with the Joker and the Batman, with Twilight Boy starring as Bruce Wayne. I know that's unfair. Robert Pattinson, so not sold on his casting, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
but basically,
they're still trying to remake Twilight. I think they're still trying to get the next Twilight.
Well, unfortunately, Mary has to leave us. She has some other things she has to deal with. So, Mary, why don't you tell the folks out there real quick about where they can find you and all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me on today, guys. I really appreciate it. And hey, Matt, hashtag Matt did nothing wrong. I am Mary B. I am the Mistress of Mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official Whammon card holder. You can find me over on my channel, Mary Mayhem, where I talk about newsy news stuff during the weekdays, and on the weekends I have a little fun. You can also find me over on Geeks and Gamers from time to time. So I would love it if you guys check me out. It'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. You guys are awesome. Guys, keep up the good fight. And Matt, keep at it, man.
Thank you.
So, all right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
And now let's take the opportunity of that short detraction from the normal program by detracting a little bit more by going through all your super chats, which have been piling up a little bit. So let's just go through that real quick. I'm just going to pull them up right here. And here we go. The first super chat today came from Nelson Cheretta, who sent us $2 saying, "We don't need men." Movie bombs. Men's fault. That is so true. That's the narrative, isn't it? First tell men that they don't need to go, and then guilt and shame men for not going. Let's make up your mind, I guess. And then
Ghostbusters 101.
Exactly. They're like, everything follows the Ghostbusters playbook. Must be the same marketing agency behind, I guess. And then Trace XL sent us $10 saying, I want these SJWs to answer for me this. Why is it that a woman is not allowed to be both sexy and a superhero when men like Chris Hemsworth, Henry Cavill, Jason Momoa, and others obviously can? Yeah, we don't have an SJW here to answer that, but I bet they're going to have a hard time with that one, or they'll just be completely honest and say that.
SJWs have no problems with double standards.
Yeah.
Long double standards, long live should be their mantra. And then Sister Harrow sent us $5 saying, I think this started because Margot apparently felt very uncomfortable in Suicide Squad in the shorts and cut off top. Yet she had no problem walking around completely naked in Wolf of Wall Street. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe. I think they just decided that, female superhero, we're going to use that as an icon.
Kind of like the Rose Tico thing. She never, ever, ever once said she was bullied off of Twitter or Instagram or whatever. What her article was all about was how Hollywood held up this image that she didn't feel she lived up to, is what it was all about. And to try and detour the attention from that, they tried to make it all our fault.
Yeah, it's so nice to blame a third party. And then Drew Skull sent us $10 saying, this is why SJWs will ultimately die out, because they think that straight males don't know what makes a woman attractive. Nature finds a way. I'm glad they don't want to breed. Good point. Sister, that actually reminds me. I'll share that for some other time. I'm just going to stay on topic here. Yeah, Sister Harrow sent us $2. So thanks again for that. Saying, don't let it get to you, Matt. Take care. Hear that, Matt? You got support.
Appreciate it.
And John Apocalypse sent us £5 saying, Cassandra Cain got bastardized the most, in my opinion. Also, Sonic movie comes out a week after and will probably kill Birds of Prey. Sonic movie looks great, by the way. Yes, I can't wait to see Sonic. I'm definitely going to give my money to Sonic, and I'm taking my kids too, if my wife will let me. They're a bit young still. But yeah, we'll see. I'm looking
just
forward
like Bad
to
Boys
it.
3. People went to see it.
Yeah.
Word of mouth got around. It was a decent movie. And I mean, it's got 2 male leads. They happen to be black. I don't see any racism there. So what's their excuse?
Was there any racist accusations against that?
No, but that would be the first thing if the movie failed. You know, it's like they just try to say that we're all racist, we're all misogynists. But yeah, we brought up all kinds of examples in the beginning of the show as to, you know, great female superheroes. And, you know, even Wonder Woman just screws up their whole narrative anyway. Same thing with Captain Marvel to a point. And even if we didn't like Captain Marvel, it still did well in the box office. So their point is moot. The movies where they really, really, really hoist this political agenda on top of the film and in front of the film, like Charlie's Angels did, like Ghostbusters did, like Terminator did, then you wind up flopping, basically. And it all goes back to that Gillette commercial, too. You know, if you tell people things like that, or men especially, that they're being bad, then they're not going to buy your shit. Look at how many billions of dollars they lost this last year. How much was it, Andre? 8 billion.
8 billion. Yeah, not million.
Not
8
million.
Billion.
Billion with a B.
Yeah, 8 billion, and that's actually enough that the corporate owner feels that sting. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Pretty Little Light sent us $10 saying, did you guys see Tara Natalia's video on how uncomfortable Henry Cavill looks in interviews? He's there to promote the movie, and they just talk about how much they want to sleep with him. I cannot say that I've seen that, but I've seen him saying that he'd rather be home and play video games than go out dating, because he's nervous that some woman is going to accuse him of being a creep or something in public. Can't
And
say I
it's like,
blame you.
come on, if you're gonna if Superman is hitting on you, are you really gonna complain? Come
Well,
on.
and I've seen
Some women might
articles
just
about
for
this
money.
stuff. I've seen articles where men are afraid to ask women out now because of the whole Me Too thing. I've seen
Absolutely.
articles where men don't want to work alone with women in the workplace. I've seen articles where women that are considered attractive are getting turned away from jobs because they're worried about Me Too problems. So right there, it's working against them in every way, shape, or form. It's
That's actually who I think is going to be the most affected by like this whole Me Too thing. Is what you said right there. I think the guys that were shy and a little bit afraid of approaching a woman to begin with, they're definitely not going to do it now. I think. But anyway, that's
no,
neither
and
here.
that's kind of the whole point of these articles
Yeah.
is you had, and not only that, just men in general are getting afraid to ask women out and stuff. Yeah.
I would like to say though that this is an American phenomenon. You don't have it that bad in Europe, at least not anywhere I've been.
Yeah, I can't speak for anywhere else, obviously, but
Yeah. As for me, I'm hitched anyway, so I'm good. But
right.
yeah. Moving on. Adam Wofford sent us $5.
What I
saying,
thought you lived in your parents' basement, Andre.
Yeah, well,
that's Rob.
Yeah, and so does Matt apparently, despite we're all being established.
Yeah,
and
you like
having
my
kids and
basement?
everything like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And your non-existent wife, who I met, or girlfriend, I mean, that I met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says hi, by the way.
Hi.
Yeah, no, it's funny how that's like the instant resort to that. We're all incels living in our parents' basement and all virgins and stuff like
I
that.
resent that. I live in my parents' attic.
That's
I got my own place. What was that, Rob?
You're really Greg Brady?
Dope. You figured it out.
Anyway, moving on. We're nearing the end. Adam Wofford sent us $5 saying, breaking news. China closed and stopped all films due to that's what you mean to say, due to the outbreak. Also, there's a rumor where China might stop all flights out or in. That wouldn't surprise me.
I think
know
they got a
that
72-hour
Norway,
ban or something like that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that my country has stopped all flights to China, and the tourists from China that happen to be here got like basically like emergency asylum almost. They can stay here while this goes on. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all works out, or if all just media hype. Maybe it's another swine flu. It was just bullshit. Yeah, moving on. Drew Skull sent us another $5 saying, Dracula was great. It had representation, but it wasn't preachy. Don't they get it? Would that be the Netflix Dracula? Because I need to check that out.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of good and bad things about it, so I'm not sure on that, but yeah.
I
I'm
heard the
always-
first episode goods, and then it falls off after that.
It wasn't.
Oh,
I didn't much care for it. I didn't think it was that great.
Is it true to the novel, or do they go? Oh, well, then I've lost interest right away. Then my favorite incarnation of Dracula shall remain Werner Herzog's remake of Nosferatu, closely followed by Jess Franco's version of Dracula, which is the closest to the source material.
I was gonna say, is that British one from a couple of years back, or like?
No, it's not British. Like Jess Franco, I believe he's Spanish, but it does have Christopher Lee, and he came out of Dracula retirement specifically for that.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, because this one was supposed to be really close.
Well, because the Angry Video Game Nerd like broke down all the Dracula movies, and the one he picked was a British version of it from BBC.
The Hammer ones.
Yeah,
the Hammer ones you're thinking about. Oh, they're
no. It wasn't a Hammer one. It was a different one. It was only from like 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's not Hammer. No, that's like
you may not have even seen it yet.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
never seen it.
Yeah, it's with the guy from Tudors, the model. I know which one they mean right now.
Yeah, he said that one's the closest to the novel of all of them, and then Bram Stoker's came in second. And I don't know if the one you mentioned though was on that list. I'd have to check again. But anyway,
yeah, well, it's very obscure, but it should be because it's brilliant. But anyway, the best of all, in my opinion, is Werner Herzog's 1979 Nosferatu remake. But again, moving on. Crazy-eyed Jedi sent us $2. 39 years with the same woman, but I don't know sexy. Good on you, crazy-eyed Jedi, and congratulations on soon 40 years with the same woman, I might add. And then Tiberius Monk 84 sent us $2 saying, fuck these keyboard punk asses fandom at its worst. I object to that. Those people are not fandom. They're something else. They are narcissists and lunatics that have been brought into the fandom by deciding to appeal to them. That's my take, at least. Any thoughts on that, guys?
As far as like the Twitterati folks and the
Twitterati folks, are they part of fandom?
Oh hell no! These are access media or basically the same kind of thing. These are the kind of people who are known as like Twitter influencers. They get nothing but
they're out there just suck the dick of the studios so that they can get interviews. That's kind of
basically that between, well, not just even interviews, but some of them are like flat out like they get promotions and stuff like that and money paid to them to like say something about a movie or whatever because they're considered an influencer on Twitter. They have so many followers. They have,
Those are pretty much everybody who are giving you. I've done a video on some of the early reviews, and yes, pretty much every one of them got in for free. They're the social media influencers, and of course, they loved it because they were out saying a whole bunch of positive things about the movie anyway. And the studio basically is treating them, in my opinion, like they're just more free advertising,
like the Kardashian types.
Yeah, people who don't really do anything, they just sit there and tweet about it.
OMG, Birds of Prey is so awesome.
It's so fetch.
I loved it. It was much better than Cats. I'm going to see it again and again.
There was literally a tweet about an early review of Birds of Prey that said it was better than Titanic, The Godfather, and like Citizen Kane or something like that. like unironically, the guy was actually saying that it was better than movies.
Oh God!
Oh my goodness!
Well, there's somebody who literally said, "Yes, I got in for free, and I loved it." Of course you did. You're not going to want to lick a gift horse in the mouth. Like nobody wants to say, "Thank you for this free gift." It sucks,
No way, it's better than Godfather.
That's what he said.
I don't think it's better than Cats.
Godfather was so problematic. It was about the white male patriarchy.
And misogyny, it's funny because like if you look at the early reviews on Reddit and stuff like that, even though like they'll be mostly positive, they'll still say that the plot doesn't make any sense, and they'll be like, "Oh, but Margot Robbie's great in it. That makes it okay."
But I got it for free, so therefore I loved it.
But they can't say something like that. They can't say something that's actually honest. No, that's what they got to do. They got to jump to that extreme. And Mecca, you brought this up before. I know we have on After Dark, but you have specifically in videos, and I'm sure you've brought it up at some point, Anna and Matt too, where it's like everything has to be the bestest ever. It's the bestest one ever. Mm-hmm. Everything that comes out now is the bestest ever. There's never been any better.
Well, I think a lot of the problem here is that people conflate casual fans commenting on what they thought about a movie with actual film critics, and film criticism is almost a lost art nowadays because it's all about who can get like the most clickbaity title and get the most clicks on their it almost has nothing to do with the actual review itself, and there's no actual criticism in these reviews. It's just people's opinions disguised as actual criticism.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad in a way.
I'd love to see them try to actually go ahead.
Well, there used to be a time when film critics actually cared about the craft of filmmaking and would actually comment on how well crafted movies were, as opposed to nowadays where it's just like, yeah, I liked it. It was fun.
Well, and that's what we do when we talk about older films usually, because newer films, that's all they are, is green screened and big bunch of explosions. What are you supposed to talk about? Really, when we get into them, it's the story sucks. The actors are either good or bad, and they either did a good job representing whatever franchise we're talking about. But it's not like it used to be to where we have great movies anymore all the time.
Take Joker, for example.
Yeah, that's rare.
That's a movie that you could dissect on a critical level on many different fronts. And every piece of criticism that was out leading up to it was all about white incel male culture. And it completely missed anything that had to do with the actual craft of the movie itself, and it just talked about the social implications of the time period in which it came out. And to me, like, that's not real journalism. That's not real criticism. That's just,
no, and I agree. And that's what I was going to get to is I want to see you guys out there that are trying to say that Birds of Prey is better than The Godfather or Citizen Kane. Actually, give me any excuse as to why other than Citizen Kane is like totally boring. It's black and white.
Yeah, Godfather was made back in the 70s, man.
Godfather is kind of
All
like
those movies are
fat
bad.
guys and just shooting people and it's just long and boring.
All about old white men. Come on.
These are the same people that are going, I don't like The Irishman because it's boring.
Irishman was boring, though.
Not really. I thought it was great. I think people are so used to these bam, bam, slap, slap, fast, fast, fast movies that even when you get something like, here's the thing, like Wolf of Wall Street, it seemed like a normal movie, but no, compared to what Scorsese does, that movie was literally a Scorsese movie on cocaine. It was that fast-paced in your face compared to what he normally does. Put up Irishman against Goodfellas or Taxi Driver, and it's the same pace, the same type of storytelling. It's Scorsese through and through. Now, is it in his top 5? No. Top 10? Maybe. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. That I will agree with. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it boring because it sucked me right in. I watched that thing from beginning to end.
It was about an hour and a half too long, in my opinion.
Now we could argue, now you want to get into technical side of things, like, does he get a little too indulgent? Yes. But that's Martin Scorsese. He's allowed. Now, if this was in theaters, it probably would have been an hour shorter, and you and I both know that. So that's the difference. So we're seeing the director's cut right away, is what we're doing.
That's the beauty with the digital streaming, though, that we're gonna get some running times and stuff that we wouldn't get otherwise. But let's get back to the super chats because we have a few left, and then we'll be all caught up.
That's what we just had, is a great movie conversation right there. In not even 5 minutes, we talked more, and we'll never talk that technically about fucking Birds of Prey.
This is true. This is very true.
Birds of Prey should have been 2 hours shorter.
Yeah, that's not going into my Blu-ray collection, let's say. Most likely. That's like the thing that I do notice, though, that like I only buy physically the movies that I really, really enjoy. And when I look at my collection, it's very, very slim of modern movies. As in, like, the movies made of the last 10 years. Yeah, you have like some comic book movies and stuff like that, but other than that, it's very slim pickings. All the
You know
good
what,
stuff
though? Like,
before.
I want Birds of Prey to be a good movie. Like, every movie I go to see, I want to be good. And I come out usually disappointed because most people in Hollywood nowadays don't know how to make good movies. They know how to make good looking movies. They know how to make flashy movies, but they don't know how to make good, solid movies. It's almost like it's a lost art. And I think that, in particular, when you get into like comic book films, it's like, okay, if they have a message that they want to promote, do it within the framework of doing a good film first and have the message take a back seat to making a good movie to begin with. And, it just seems like Birds of Prey, it's so disrespectful to the source material. It's mostly a Margot Robbie feature. It's a vehicle for her and her character because, it's one of the few things that has actually hit in the public for DC. And I just, I feel like I want the movie to be good, and I hope it is good. I hope, like, when I eventually see it, that I'm pleasantly surprised. But the marketing for this movie has just been all over the place. It's been so disjointed, and there's no real vision of who the audience they're trying to attract for this movie is. And I think that was part of the thinking behind my tweet. When I first put it out was that like it feels like the studio doesn't know who they're making the movie for, and they don't know how to market it because of that. So.
Well, and that's what I was wondering, because you did say this was greenlit by the same person who greenlit Joker, Andre, but I thought this was in production before Joker.
Yeah, no, it was in production before. So he basically got like the finished package. Then it's just a matter of, shall we make this?
Because this started out as like the Harley Quinn Joker movie, and then there was a separate Birds of Prey film.
Yeah, there was like several different projects in development. Matt, Gary.
I believe that it started off as Gotham City Sirens.
Oh, yeah, that was the other one I heard.
And when the new guy came in, he morphed it into Birds of Prey, and that's what they went with.
Yeah.
I think that's how it happened.
Yeah,
I still don't.
it's
This is the
basically
dumbest thing to follow Joker with. I'm
they
sorry.
had like a two,
Yeah.
3, 4. Well, when they greenlit Joker, they didn't know the Joker was going to be a hit.
I
From their
know,
point
but
of view, this was a high risk little thing, and they were like thinking, "Well, thank God we have Birds of Prey to make everything fine again." When the Joker comes and bumps.
Do you guys remember how controversial the Joker was when it was first announced? Where they were like, "You mean you're making a standalone Joker film that has no connection to Batman?"
oh, I was against it. I
Yeah.
was one of the first ones out there who admitted I was completely wrong from beginning to end. And even Rob and I had done some early reporting on certain things that are in the film, and they're in the film, but they were much more toned down by the end than what we got.
I have a friend who was an extra on the set, and he gave us some of the inside dope on some of the aspects.
Now,
of
granted,
the
this was from his point of view of whatever scene he probably worked in, and a few other things. But again, the point is we were all the same way. Yeah, we're like, why would you do this? I'm sick of I'm sick of Superman stuff without Superman in it. I'm sick of Batman stuff without Batman in it. We don't need a Joker origin movie. We already got one. It was called Batman 1989. That was my whole thing, my mantra for months. And then I saw the movie, and outside of a few gripes with the film, I'm like, it's brilliant. And it's one of the movies we haven't done a roundtable here yet. And I think it's just because Andre and I kind of agreed we need to be able to take more time to ingest the film to be able to talk about it more. And now that it's on video, I think we'll probably plan something sooner than later. But
the other thing, though, is that, and okay, I still haven't seen it yet. I really got to get on that. But Tom, what you told me is that everything in the Joker is everything what the SJW crowd should approve of.
For the most part, yes. And there's elements of both sides. It's a very well handled movie. You have the element where you have a guy who's dealing with emotional and mental disorders, and he gets cut off of his medications and all this other stuff, and that starts the downward spiral into where he ends up by the end. And then the other side of it, you have Thomas Wayne as kind of a Trump figure, and not just in bad ways, but in good ways too. I mean, depending on how you see him, because you see him as, this asshole, but you also see him as being misconstrued by the media. So you have both sides of everything, and it's a very well balanced film as far as like mixing in the politics and not being like, well, this guy's Trump and these guys are the SJW. It's not like that kind of shit like we get in every other movie.
Anyway, let's move on to some more super chats. Maybe we'll get some more fertile ground for discussion. Harsner sent us 10 euros saying, toxicity and trolls. Just fuck that. Praise to you, wonderful people. Peace and love to you guys from Germany. Now, what do I do with the rest of the 200 characters left in this text box when there it got. Well, vielen Dank, Herzner. Much appreciated. And then Tiberius Monk 84 sent us $5 saying, of all things to do in this world, you tell someone to kill themselves. What the hell is the matter with you? Matthew, you a cool dude. Keep going. Yeah, you see loads of support from the community. Trace XL sent us $10 saying, Twitter morons are projectionists. Yes, thank you. They throw their inner hatred at others to deflect the issues they have inside. They're just jealous others can live their lives without things getting to them. Yeah, that's what narcissists do. We discussed that a little bit before. And then Winterwind89 sent us $5 saying, being an SJW is like being a member of a cult. They have the same mentality of a tack out group because they threaten our ideology built on sand. That's applause, comment of the year. And guys, anything to say about that? Anna, you have any thoughts about that?
I would just like to say that, when you're getting deluged by literally thousands of people calling you names, personally attacking you, making you question your own personal logic about what it is you wrote in public, it's really nice to have people kind of come to your defense, because I specifically chose not to engage with any of the people who were, throwing toxicity my way. And I think it was the right decision, but it was nice to see that there were people out there who could see my point of view, knew what I was trying to communicate, and were willing to come to my defense. Tom, you were one of those people. The other people on this panel, some other Twitter friends of mine came to my defense, and that really meant a lot to me. So I wanted to just thank you and all the people out there who, will continue to come to my defense in the future. Hopefully.
Even if I didn't know you as I do, I think it's important to note that a lot of the people that are out there doing this shit, they try to pretend like, oh, people are important and feelings are important and everything like that. But then they don't stop to think that the person they go after is a person, and that they are not even close to what they're representing. They misrepresent what somebody says all the time. And then, and the media picks up on this crap, and we've gotten where we're at right now with this whole freaking thing. And like I keep pointing out, nothing you said was any worse than many other people, including one of their own. Scott Mendelson pointed out himself, it's just that we want to see more comic accurate characters. And again, who are you making this movie for? And I think that was your biggest point, was who is this for? It's obviously not for the core fans. It's obviously not for the cosplayers and those who would love to emulate these characters. It's obviously for this select little group that doesn't go to movies, and that was proven with Ghostbusters and Terminator and all that other crap and Charlie's Angels, which is what you were making a point about, is that these people don't go to see these movies. They don't buy tickets.
And, I think all this actually affected my girlfriend more than it affected me, because she was like, I can't understand why people are saying such terrible things about you. I want to come to your defense. And I just told her, like, don't engage, just ignore it. It'll go away eventually. But she was probably more hurt and upset by the personal attacks than I was. So when there are people out there like, Mecca and Mary and Anna here, who are willing to kind of speak up and say like, hey, this isn't what you think it is. And when there are people who engage in the Twitter threads and come out and say like, hey, you're wrong and here's why, or, like you're being stupid or what have you. It might not seem like it means anything, because, like I said, I wasn't engaging, but I did notice it and I was very thankful for it. So.
Yeah, well, we're all here to support you and speak some truth and common sense, which Lord knows the world needs more of. And with that, let's get back to the super chats. Only a couple more left. Matt G sent us $2 saying, makes you want to go back to the Spork controversy, LOL.
I don't know what
that means, but
that was with Star Wars charging.
Okay, I think Anna's
sporks.
I think Anna's having some audio issues. Are you there, Anna?
Yeah, I can't hear her if she.
Yeah, I think she's having some. You may have to drop back out and come back in, perhaps.
In the meantime, I'll go through the last ones. Casey Lanham sent us $5 saying, Mecca and Mary, such lovely ladies. Thank you for what you do.
Well, all the ladies in the Fandom Menace, they do, amazing work. And there you are. Speaking of the lovely ladies of the Fandom Menace, I mean, you guys do such great work, and if it wasn't for you guys, there's a lot of stuff that we wouldn't know about. I mean, look at what Geeky Candy went through in the last week. She got deluged with, you're full of shit, you're a liar, you're spreading fake news. And then what happened? Obi-Wan gets canceled, and she was one of the few people that was on that from day one, and she got a little help from me, and I just kept telling her, just keep going. If you think there's something there, just keep going. If there's something it's telling you. And lo and behold, but she went through a deluge of bullshit, all the bullshit that you went through, Anna, with everything you went through. Mecca and Mary have dealt with a lot of the same kind of stuff when they give their opinions about stuff, and they're women. So why is it they get attacked? It's because they don't fit the narrative.
They get attacked worse than us.
It's because they don't fit the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, because we're just white males anywhere. We're just expecting, or we're just acting as is expected of our lowly kind. But Anna, Mecca, Mary, Candy, all the others, that's against the program. They're not supposed to do that. It's like the same thing when like if you have a black conservative, like it's not supposed to be that way. It doesn't fit the schedule. And of course that drives people into a frenzy, and so those that don't fit the planned narrative must be destroyed. So they'll come after Mecca and Anna and Mary and Candy. They'll come after us 10 times as hard as they would any of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unlike Kelly Marie Tran, we actually have the screenshots to show what we've actually gotten, like the actual hate messages and the death threats. You know, we have articles written about the stuff that.
Well, to be fair to her personally, she has never personally said it. It's the media.
Well, she never denies it either. She always kind of goes along with it, and she always kind of avoids the question too. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm
very
talking
easily just say no. I didn't I did it for this reason instead of this reason. You know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Daisy at least did come out and say, no, I just left because I didn't have time for that bullshit. Yeah, so.
Yeah, but Daisy's also, she's not really playing for the team so much.
She's a Jedi from Jakku.
She's also not exactly the brightest bulb, I would say.
No, she's a bit of an airhead. She seems sweet enough, but yeah.
She's just here for the catering. But anyway, yes, Andre, next one so we can finish these up and move on.
Master Clockwork sent us $2 saying a live action Teen Titans Go Girls Night episode.
I think that's what he's comparing this movie to.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I guess.
I've never seen it, but I'm aware of it. Yeah. I mean, it's really on the nose kind of crap. And like I said to Mary in the phone call we had yesterday about this, you know, it's like, it looks like a 4-year-old dressed themselves with costumes. And she's even got the little, like, what do you call them? Streamers or whatever on her arms to make her look like a bird. It's like, come on.
I'm a birdie. Daddy, I'm a birdie.
And then finally, Trace XL sent us yet another $10 super chat. So we should almost say that this live show was brought to you by Trace XL.
Well, we have another one that just come in.
Very much for the support. I'll get to that. He sent, with these $10, he said, Cara Delevingne complained about her enchantress outfit in Suicide Squad, just as Margaret did about Harley's outfit. But they are the ones signing on to play the roles. So where the hell were their voices then? I want your thoughts on that. Anna?
Well, as far as like Margaret Robbie's costume in Suicide Squad, I never actually watched the movie, but when she says that she was uncomfortable, she doesn't specify. And looking at her costume, she's wearing tights and booty shorts. So I don't know if it's necessarily she was uncomfortable with, you know, the whole outfit in general, or if it's just because that is, you know,
they were fishnets, right? So
yeah,
I imagine
so they're itchy. I mean, I just know from, like, when I was a kid in dance and we had to wear fishnets and you had to wear, you know, the little shorts over them underneath the little dress while you dance, it gets itchy and it's uncomfortable. So I don't know if like she meant like physically, like it's itchy, it's uncomfortable, doesn't fit right. Or it's uncomfortable because like, you know.
I think possibly, like, if she did not wear anything underneath the fishnets, and they were fishnets that did not have the cotton bit that we all know, without getting too graphic and into detail, girls know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's going to pinch her bits. It's going to, it's going to be like, okay, like, guys, imagine wearing fishnets up against your stuff, right? That's kind of what it would seem like, without any undergarment underneath, because the shorts are so short.
You want my guess from a movie point of view, and maybe Matt can chime in on this because he's probably worked on a lot more movies than I've ever been around, but it's probably all one piece in the bottom. It was probably put together by the costumer. So it doesn't even probably have the full fishnet stockings. The part probably comes out from the bottom of the shorts, and it's probably all cheap, one piece.
Though. They wouldn't. They probably would have two pieces because they were probably buying a lot of off the rack stuff in that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. They were probably designed by somebody. That's what I'm saying.
I don't buy that.
Have like kind of hard to do because then you'd have to remake the entire piece if there's a run in the fishnets.
Yeah,
That's why you have 20 of them.
Well, yeah, but they wouldn't have 20 pairs of shorts for her to wear. They probably have like 20 of the
You don't
same
think so?
off the rack. Well, they would be two pieces though. They really would be two pieces. Because sewing them together would just be a nightmare.
That would. Like,
Well,
each
that's the thing is
individual
most of the time in movies, most of the stuff you see isn't off the rack, guys. That's my
Yeah,
point.
but this looks like it is. I mean, if it looks anything like Birds of Prey looks off of the rack. And that's the same type of stuff we were hearing with Picard, is that a lot of the stuff is just people bringing their own costumes in. So, you know, I know it's not supposed to be off the rack, and real productions tend to do that. But look at some of these newer. I mean, this is made for girls to replicate the costumes quickly, cheaply, easily. This is why you have Rosie Perez in a blouse and, you know, token Asian girl in a hoodie and denim shorts. I mean, this is so girls can, and this is why Daisy Ridley wears UGG boots in Rise of Skywalker.
I'll be
So girls
honest,
can go and
most of
buy
these
them.
women can't complain. Outside of Gal Gadot, I don't think they can really complain compared to what the men have to put up with and wear.
Well, I'd also point out that actors, until you reach a certain level of stature, don't have a lot of say in how they look in these movies. Like,
Yeah.
as an actor, you're basically they pick you up and they insert you into the role that they want you to play, and you have to dress the way that they tell you to dress. You have to say the words they tell you to say. And as an actor, they just have to emote correctly and deliver the lines correctly and stuff like that. So, like Cara Delevingne, or I'm probably butchering her name.
I think it's close.
The girl who played Enchantress in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think it's Delevingne.
Yeah, Cara Delevingne.
Yeah, that was her first like big role coming off of a modeling career, and so she was in no position to dictate what it was she wore. Like, she had to wear what they told her to wear, no matter how uncomfortable she was in it. But that's part of being an actor, is being uncomfortable and doing your job anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Look at Doug Jones. He's in costume and he has a liquid diet, and he said even flat out at Star Trek Las Vegas, no, I chose this. Like, this is the job I chose to do, so I can't complain that much. I accepted the role. And yeah, I'm going on a liquid diet and I can't eat because I have to stay this size, this, whatever.
But once you become a certain amount of bankable, like Margot Robbie is now, like, then she can come in and say, like, hey, I want to wear something a little bit different than what you're telling me to wear. And because she's a bankable actress, now they have to listen to her. But until you reach that level, it's usually not something that you have much say in.
Yeah, it's like that story with Christian Bale, how he did the 3 Batman movies without a zipper, and then Ben Affleck got a zipper.
You're right. But here's the other thing that bothers me is, speaking of Cara Delevingne, these are the same people that turned around and made her look skinnier with CGI. Why aren't they boycotting this movie because of that? Because it's technically a sequel to that movie, but I'm just saying, speaking of her.
Cara Delevingne is a lesbian, so you can't speak ill of her.
Yep.
No, I'm saying.
So I can't talk about how she needs her eyebrows
Suicide
done?
Squad, they went and
thank you,
CGI'd.
I want to do her so bad. I can't even look at her face.
In Suicide Squad, they went and made Cara Delevingne skinnier with CGI. Why aren't these people outraged about that and boycotting this movie because of that?
Suicide Squad sucked.
They didn't have to.
That's so true. And I actually felt like a little bit bad for Cara Delevingne with that stupid belly dancing and everything she had to protect herself to. But I think that, like James Davidson pointed out in the comments, she's bi. I think she's bi and not lesbian, although she had like this. She
prefers women over men.
Yeah.
Like, she'll deal with men, but she prefers.
She's in a committed relationship with another girl. So
I thought they got married.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I know that she was like in a romantic relationship with Michelle Rodriguez, or what her name is, the one in Resident Evil and Fast and the Furious and stuff. So they had like a thing going on.
Yeah, no wonder they didn't have any chemistry on what was it, Valerian. Her and Dane DeHaan. But he looks like he's 15, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, why the hell did they cast him? That's like one of the worst miscastings I ever seen.
Should have been like Henry Cavill or something like that.
Somebody who looks old enough to have sex.
Like, I feel bad for Dane DeHaan because the guy is a good actor, but he's chosen the worst possible roles. Like, his Green Goblin was shit. So was his Harry Osborn.
Basically,
Valerian
Valerian is
word.
supposed to be like Bruce Campbell 20 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
They wanted a young adult audience. Young adult
Well, they keep
sci-fi.
is
Kurt
that good? And they
Russell
keep trying to
type
remake
character.
Twilight.
Yeah.
They keep
A
trying to remake.
suave Han Solo type.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I didn't mind Cara Delevingne in that movie, but
No, she was
my
fine.
God, she
Yeah.
was so miscast. That brought down the movie, and it's a shame because the comics are pretty good.
I know you showed me those comics. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This should have been, like I said, 20 years ago. This would have been made with Bruce Campbell. I'm like, it would have been
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to disagree on that one, Andre. But
Yeah, we can agree to disagree. That's what growing up with European comics will do
I
to you.
think we can all agree that just Valerian the movie was not that good.
Yes,
It could have been
yes,
better.
that I agree with. The movie
You know,
was a complete mess. No
I saw
argue
it.
there.
I saw it on basic cable recently, and I said, you know what? There's the germ of an idea for a good movie here, but everything around it is just kind of meh.
It's a space detective, basically. You know, like film noir detective
Mhm.
is what it is in like a Star Wars world.
I remember seeing the trailer. I don't know, Tom, if you remember this. When I saw the trailer, I said, "Wow!" My first reaction was, my only reaction after seeing was, "How much did they have to use? How much did they have to pay to use the Beatles because in this?" It had to cost at least $250,000.
That was probably the least of this movie's expenditures. Do you know how much
Oh,
that damn
God.
thing cost? It bankrupted that company.
Yeah,
I can't
no,
remember
that
the-
movie was the most
Million, right?
expensive, and it had so many good little ideas. It had some cool stuff, like the little whatever the thing was that poops pearls or something. That little thing, that thing was cute. I want a plush of
They
him.
got the
There
idea.
were so many good things in it. I have to
They
say
got-
though, there
Was
a
Clive
great-
Owen the villain?
Yeah, there was a great
John
great
Goodman
comment in
was
there.
one of
Dr.
them.
Franklin Anderson said, "Tintin is the best European comic." Changed my mind. I won't because you're right. I just wanted to put that out there.
Andre, when the Tintin movie came out here in the US, all I kept hearing from people saying to me, "Yeah, where's the dog?" I mean, what happened to the German Shepherd? I'm like, no, that's Rin Tin Tin.
Oh God.
I don't know. Maybe it's
I
me.
was
but
like thinking that Tintin's dog was there. But yeah, okay, of course. We have to win Tintin.
they got the wrong dog.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Anyway, just to round that off, yeah, they messed up Valerian completely in many different ways. But the biggest one was the casting, and everything went wrong from that because there you messed up the chemistry with the characters and everything. Rob, if it was a real adaptation, Valerian could and should have been excellent. As it was, it wasn't. So we're in complete agreement with that.
Well, our guest of honor has to leave here soon, so I think we should probably round this out. We did get
Yes.
one more super chat,
Yes, we
or
have
two. I don't
one
know if
more super chat, and the final one is Jay Hansen with a picture of Jim, who sent us $20. Thank you so much, saying movie Inner Circle hired by Fandango sent out a questionnaire today asking if people were excited for Birds. The follow-up question to the no answer was, do you not like female superhero movies? I think WB is worried. Well, we shall see. We shall see.
And again, it's not about the fact that they're females.
Yeah, well, that's
It
such
just
a
looks like shit. I could be wrong. The movie could be great. I've been hearing some different shit about the movie. I've heard it's gory as hell. I've heard a lot of people say it's not what you're going to expect from the trailers. So I'm hoping it's good, but they're not selling me on it. That's for sure. And that's what we're kind of getting to here. And that's what Matt's getting to in his tweet and, everything like that.
Isn't this the biggest problem though? Is that they made this movie and like we all keep saying, and they have no idea who this movie is for. It is for such a narrow audience that it's impossible to sell it for a general movie going public. The whole, like I said, I keep saying I'm not that big a fan of Bill Maher, but Bill Maher recently said you have to understand Twitter is not the real world. And if you're making a movie for Twitter, you know what? You're going to lose money every time. And wasn't that the biggest problem with Star Wars is that they started making the movie for Twitter and then the whole thing just fell apart?
Kind of.
Yeah, and this goes right back to Matthew's initial tweet, which most of us here in the panel, and I think most in the comments, will be in agreement was not a high crime worthy of the pitchforks being taken out. Matt, you have to leave right now, I know, but I want to thank you for joining us and giving us your input. Any final words for everyone watching and the Twitterati who maybe will be watching later if they have attention span to watch this whole 2-hour stream?
Well, I think we all know they're not going to watch it. They'll just write their headlines about how a group of alt-right white supremacists got together to bash on women.
Dudes.
Yeah. And Trump supporters, don't forget about that.
I just want to thank everyone for the support that you guys have been giving me. It really means a lot. When I wrote this tweet last Friday evening, I had no idea it would blow up like it did. I'm kind of surprised that it's still going strong. I just want to thank all my friends on Twitter for coming to my defense, because like I told you guys, I made a conscious decision not to engage with this. And it's been hard sometimes, because sometimes you just want to get in there and be like, oh yeah, well, how about this? So when other people come to my defense, it's always very encouraging for me, because it makes me feel like, hey, maybe I wasn't crazy to make a comment like this, because I don't consider myself to hate women. I like all types of movies, and I'm certainly not someone who, wants to spread toxicity and hate other people. I just, I have opinions of my own that I like to express online. And so when something like this happens and I just get deluged with toxicity, it's nice to know that there are people out there who are kind of like the lifeline that kind of keep me sane during times like this. So I wanted to thank you guys on this panel. This is the first time I've actually even commented on this stuff publicly. So it was a little bit cathartic for me. So thank you for that. And to those of you out there who might want to go to the thread and, kind of argue with some of these idiots and show them their wrong think, I appreciate that sentiment as well. And just thanks for having me on.
Certainly, it was our pleasure. So thanks for joining us again.
And as always, though, I mean, even though there are members of the community who do go out of their way to attack other people, we don't encourage that. We don't condone that. We're not saying to go out of your way to attack these people, but if you want to, get into the debate on the Twitter feed, that's, nobody's going to stop you. Obviously, you're a free person, but we don't condone any kind of attacking or, sending of messages, especially the type that Matt got, because then all that does is make everybody look bad, and it's just stupid.
Yeah. Don't bully these people, but at least try to engage with them on a somewhat logical level, if you want.
Be respectful, be intelligent, be thoughtful. That's the thing. I mean, you can leave someone. You can do more good if you just say to somebody, well, why do you feel like that? And then they have to explain why, what their thought process is.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you? Oh, this is misogynistic. Well, why do you feel like that? Why do you feel it is?
Got to remember that there are some people that just jump in because they see something trending and they want their 10 seconds of fame and to feel important by belittling someone, and so they'll just go on and on with it, which sucks.
You also have professional trolls too.
Yeah.
So anyway, as we're saying, we never, ever, ever condone anybody going out of their way to attack anybody, especially for their opinion on a movie. But yeah, if you want to engage in this Twitter debate, we'll probably try and get the link up for that first original Twitter in the chat, maybe, perhaps.
I'm going to rephrase that. Don't stoop to their level.
Yeah, don't be like me.
But at the same time, if you want to give Matt some words of encouragement and defense on Twitter, there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if people want to support the tweet, I mean, it got ratioed to hell and back on this stuff. So if you just want to, even that ratio out a little bit by giving it a like or something like that, that helps out too.
All right, so do check out Matt's YouTube channel. Check out Mecha Random's YouTube channel. Do check out Anna's That Star Wars Girl. I can't talk. Anna's That Star Wars Girl's YouTube channel and Mary Mayhem's YouTube channel as well. We want to thank you for joining us here on the main channel. And do check out After Dark. Rob has his own little channel if you want to hear him rant about things as well. It's called Robot Shlomo, the only Robot Shlomo on YouTube, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's pretty easy to find.
So, Andre, any final thoughts then to take us away?
Yeah. Thanks to all the panelists. Thank you, Mecca. Thank you, Anna, for coming to join us. It's always a pleasure when we have distinguished guests like you. And of course, thanks to Matt for having to come and want to talk about this as well. Thanks to Mary, although she had to leave a little while ago, which is very understandable. And anything else? Oh, yes, be sure to check back tomorrow, because then I have some more exclusive revelations for you about the upcoming Dune.
Yeah, that's right. We also have a Obi-Wan video on the way as well, I believe, right, Rob?
Yeah, I gotta make a couple tweaks to just 1 or 2 tweaks to the script, and shouldn't take too long. It's only a few pages. It's only about 4 or 5 pages, so I should be able to knock that out and have that audio in your hands pretty relatively quickly.
All right, so stay tuned for those.
Yeah, hopefully my voice is sounding better. So
Do you have the plague as well?
Yeah. Mecca gave it to me.
No,
It's
we
the
were hearing you
coronavirus.
originated it. Because Jesse and Jeff also got it, and you met up with them before you met up with me out there. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe they gave it to me.
Possible.
Well, it's one of life's
But it
little
allows me-
mysteries.
But it allows me to do this. Ready? This is CNN. So
Anyway, I just want to say thanks to everyone for being here and for joining us. And we're signing off right now. So have a great day, evening, or night, wherever you may be. Bye.